All right, welcome back. Good afternoon. It is January 1st, 2026. Just finished my first workout of the year. I set myself a goal of 80 sets minimum per week. So that's 80 sets to failure each set. So I make sure that I get my entire body done during a week. Typically, I end up with about somewhere north of 100 sets by, once you hit the entire body. So, but why do I do these finance videos? It's because it took me 10 years, 10 years, as my mom was living in our old house, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 3 levels, plus an attic, garage that she never used, front yard, backyard, etc., by herself, as her savings were dwindling. Meanwhile, she's sitting on this house that's worth, in New York City. Back then, well, it wasn't worth $1 million, but today it'd be like 1.25 mil. But even back then, she sold about 8 years ago. Has she listened to me and sold 18 years ago? So instead of selling for, let's say, 800 that she sold, maybe 18 years ago she would have sold for 5, 6, 600. But given the fact that the market had the stock market, that the S&P 500 that I normally do buy, if she has sold for 500 18 years ago, she'd have millions today, millions. Instead, she sold 8 years ago, granted for a little more than 500,000. However, she hasn't had that much time to grow. The remainder of her money after she bought her downsized apartment, the remainder of her money has only had 8 years to grow. Granted, and also these 8 years have been really, really good also, right? Averaging probably 15% per year. But imagine 15% instead of 8 years, you grew for 18 years. You literally have 2 to 3 times the amount of money. And the same thing with my wife's parents, my in-laws. After I convinced my mom, she began working on her mom. And even before that, there was some overlap. We were working on all of them. Like, you're running out of money. You want to travel, you want to buy a new car, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Where are you getting this money? Right? Meanwhile, you're living in this house. 2 of you, an entire house in New York City, which is very expensive, and it's expensive to maintain. It doesn't matter if you have my father-in-law has a small pension. It doesn't matter if you have a pension. If your pension's only $1,000 a month, doesn't even pay for the insurance. Why are you in this big house by yourself? Well, they had a small house. Regardless, they didn't need all that room. They lived in 2 bedrooms and 1 kitchen and 1 bathroom. So you buy a 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom apartment for literally a fraction of the price. You put everything else into the S&P 500, let it grow, and you'll end up with multiple times more money than had you been just sitting in that house. I have so many relatives. I have an aunt right now living by herself in Flushing in an oversized lot. The house must be worth 1.5 mil. Refuses to get rid of it. It's literally crumbling around her. She wears a parka inside her house. A parka inside her house. All right. In the summertime, she'll go sit outside instead of staying inside the house. She'll sit outside in the car with the windows rolled down so she can get cool. Okay. She'll go outside to get some light so she doesn't have to turn on the lights inside. I mean, it's that ridiculous. This is why I'm so passionate about, especially Chinese folks. You know how to save money, but you have no idea how to invest. And you're so scared of it. They're so scared of losing their money. And meanwhile, I'm like, I've been buying S&P 500 for the last 30 years. Guess what? I haven't lost a single penny. You know why? Because I never sold. You live in that house that's worth $1.52 million. And when the market drops down to by half, and you have, instead of a $2 million house, you have a $1 million house. Did you lose any money? No, you still have one house. Just continue to live in it, right? You still have one house. I have an X amount in stocks. When the market tanks, if I have more money, I would buy more, right? The market tanks, and let's say I have, instead of $1 million in stocks, I have $500,000. I still have the same amount of shares. I never lost a penny. Okay, so this is why I'm so passionate about putting out these videos. I'm not a financial advisor. Don't take this as advice. Okay, go read. So if there's one book to read The Simple Path to Wealth by Jim Collins. Okay, and then start asking questions, start researching. You know, if you're older like me, you know, go ask one of your kids. Okay, they're probably going to be a little more knowledgeable at you about that than you are. Okay. Anyway, happy New Year, and keep saving, keep investing.